In the Tudor era, punishment wasn't just about death, it was about making an example. Today we're diving into the 5 most gruesome Tudor punishments, the methods so brutal they'd haunt the crowd for weeks, even centuries. First on the list, boiling alive. This wasn't folklore, it was real, and it was horrifying. In 1531, King Henry VIII passed a law, the Acti of Poisoning, specifically targeting poisoners. One of the most infamous victims was a cook named Richard Roos, accused of attempting to kill by poisoning. He was chained and repeatedly lowered into a vat of scalding water until he died. Witnesses said he roared mighty loud, and some spectators were physically sick at the sight. This brutal method was used until 1547, when the law was finally abolished. Next, pressed to death, or peine forte et dura. This punishment was horrifyingly simple. Lay a board on top of the prisoner and pile on heavy stones. It was often used when a prisoner refused to plead guilty or not guilty because the law at the time meant they couldn't even have a jury unless they entered a plea. Some people shockingly chose this death. Why? If they died under the stones, their property wouldn't be confiscated. Their families would keep their inheritance. Sir Thomas Smith, a contemporary, called it one of the cruelest deaths that may be. Among its most famous victims was Margaret Clitheroe, a Catholic recusant who refused to plead to protect others from testifying against her. Third, burning at the stake, the fire that scorched souls in public. In Tudor England, this wasn't just for witches. Women convicted of petty treason, for instance, killing their husbands or their masters, were often sentenced to burn. Sometimes the condemned were strangled first, but if not, they were left to suffocate in the smoke or die slowly in the flames. A notorious case. Alice Arden, who plotted to murder her husband, was tied to the stake and set aflame in 1551. These executions were deeply symbolic, a terrifying display of state power, gendered punishment, and religious legal control. Method number 4, broken on the wheel. This barbaric form of execution actually had its roots in continental Europe, but it found its way into the Tudor imagination. The condemned would be tied, often spread eagle, to a large wooden wheel. Then, using a heavy iron rod, executioners would mercilessly break their limbs. Once shattered, the victim might be strangled, given a fatal blow, or simply left to die in agony. In some brutal shows of power, the wheel with the corpse would be paraded through the town and later raised on a pole like a gruesome trophy. Finally, the Halifax gibbet, a chilling precursor to the guillotine. While nobles often received a cleaner death by beheading, common criminals in Yorkshire sometimes faced this deadly contraption. The gibbet was essentially a large wooden frame with an axe attached. Drop the blade, and off came the head. It wasn't just a horrible death. Its very design was a warning. The gibbet foreshadowed more modern devices, but in its time it symbolized brutal, mechanical justice, a swift but public execution. These 5 punishments show how Tudor justice wasn't just about punishing crime, it was about power, spectacle, and fear. From scalding water to crushing stones, fire to broken bones, these methods were engineered to terrify as much as to kill. If you found this dive into Tudor cruelty chilling, hit like and subscribe, because there's more where that came from. Next up, we'll explore the shadowy chambers of Tudor torture Inquisition-style interrogations, iron collars, and medieval devices that could break a person without ever killing them. Thanks for watching, and remember, history isn't just a story. Sometimes it's a warning.